I've heard about swig, I don't know, people come and bring it all the time. I know there's one near the West Campus. I don't know where there's one over here.
There's a new one. It's there is one that just opened up over closer to Kingsland.
Well, I've never had it.
You never had swig?
No.
But they don't usually put a cinnamon stick in your drink?
No, so this is their Dr. Spice. It's a special fall one. So it's Dr. Pepper, cinnamon, coconut.
Coconut?
No, that's the thing that makes it good.
Really?
Yeah. It's like coconut creamer.
I mean, I like
stuff.
coconut. I love coconut flavor, but
Keeps the Mormons coming back.
I wouldn't have thought about it in like a fall, like coconut is like summer to me.
No, it's always good. You're right.
I guess in Thai food, I have it all the time in Thai food.
Yeah. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Next Day podcast.
The next day on your discipleship journey.
I'm Chad.
I'm Christy.
And we are joined by...
Katie Lequier.
Yay! All right. So, what?
You're loud.
What are you telling me?
I'm saying you're loud.
I'm loud?
Yes.
Of course I'm loud.
I know. You're just like in my ears. You're like it's...
Well, you're not used to wearing the headphones.
I'm not used to wearing the headphones.
No. So, yeah, we are joined here by Katie, and she is joining us via Zoom. And Chrissy and I are in studio.
We are wearing headphones.
AKA my office. But yeah. And so, but we're glad to have you, Katie. So Katie, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll share why you're on the show here in just a second.
Well, about myself, Rosenberg native. My husband, Luke, and I, we live here in Rosenberg. We got 2 kids, Aurora and Beau. Might get a celebrity spotting of Beau. He's running around the house right now. But we have been attending St. Peter's, I think, since 2017 or 2018. Started over at Cinco Ranch and moved with the church when we moved out to West Katy, Fulshire area, and been involved ever since. I do a lot with children's ministry. My husband's been on trustees and SPRC, and I feel like if there's ever a call to volunteer, we're some of the people that are part of it. And that goes into me being chair of the gala this past year.
Yeah, and that's why you are on here. Is we've shared with people before about the gala and to our listeners and everything about it, and so we didn't really even talk about it much last week. We just said how great it was, but we'll go into more detail. Before we do that, let's get to our icebreaker. Because I can tell, Katie, you're just very shy. And so we just need to break the ice a little bit. And so usually I ask people to pick between between 3 cards. But I have one lonely card left since I've replenished these. So now I have no idea what this one even is. So we're just going to go with it. And it is... I am happiest when... So when are you the most happy? And you don't have to feel bad. You don't have to say, every time my kids smile. I mean, maybe that is it. I don't know.
It's one of them.
But
sure.
you can be selfish. Oh, I'm happiest when whatever.
I'm happiest when I'm in my garden, like.
Okay, that's Christy's answer. You can't steal Christy's answer.
No,
we relate on this. Yeah.
And pulling the caterpillars off my plants and throwing them into the garden, into the grass. Get off my plants. It's just so satisfying.
I know. And well, the caterpillars in my garden
are great, but don't eat my tomatoes.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it depends on it's the type of caterpillar matters, like if it's a monarch caterpillar, I'm like, oh my gosh, little baby, I will see you all the way to blooming into this.
I guess they're on
butterfly.
The milkweed, right? So,
yes. So
you don't hurt those.
If it's an army caterpillar and it's gone from like this big to this big overnight, and your basil plant's gone,
yep,
that thing goes to the birds.
No, yeah, it's done. It's run its course. Agreed.
Imagining your version of the very hungry caterpillar. It's just eating, and you're just like, not today.
Okay, I'm happy. Possums come into my yard, snakes, spiders, don't care. Get the worms out.
Mm-hmm.
Not my thing.
Nice.
Katie has a special love for possums, actually.
I do.
They're
I do.
cute. Possums are like, now I know the older ones can be kind of scary looking, but little baby possums are like some of the cutest things.
Yeah, they're so cute. And, if one just happens to be in my yard, I will pick it up and, like, give it a little boot on the snoot and send it along its way.
A
Fun fact.
Boot on a snoot.
A boop on the snoot.
Fun fact is that possums really cannot carry rabies because their body temperature is too low.
Mm-hmm.
And our rabies expert, Christy, knows everything there is to know.
Yes.
But baby kittens can.
They could.
They could.
It's possible. It's unlikely, but possible.
All right. When
See,
are you the happiest?
I don't know. I mean, I think like when I'm listening to like one of my favorite songs, just like a great, good, upbeat kind of song, and the sun is shining and the windows are down in the car and I've got my arms sticking out, like playing with the wind, and it's just like, it just feels like this is the best day of my life. Like those are some of my happiest moments.
It's like you just described like a music video, like every music
To Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Friday.
Friday.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like I have many of those moments. So I'm some of my happiest then.
Nice. Well, mine's whenever I'm reading scripture and I'm in prayer.
Oh, good for you.
So y'all should feel bad for what y'all said. Just no. Just
Yes.
like that person who you're talking to people. What's your favorite book? And then someone just the Bible. It's kind of like, well, that's great, but come on, let's have some fun here. Let's throw something else out there. No, I guess for me, I don't know. Like I have like two different. Believe it or not, there's like two different versions of myself where I feel like I'm like a really good, I think a good example of ambivert.
Right.
I'm not introvert, I'm not extrovert. I'm like really right in the middle because I will be so happy just my own solitude time when I go out and I'm walking. I'm going on like a long walk and I'm just listening either to a podcast or just to some good music, and it's just I'm out doing like a more nature type of trail. It's just so peaceful. It really puts me in a good mood. But then other times I love just playing games with a group of friends or family, and then when you're just all just joking around and somehow everything's just funny and all that. Like it's just I get really, both of those worlds are great to me, but I have to
You need the good balance.
Yeah,
you have to have
it's
recharge
always,
time
yeah.
for both. I know.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes I need the recharge of like being around people, and sometimes I need the recharge of just being by myself, and I need them both.
Yeah. That or just anytime I'm eating like chips and salsa, but it has to be warm salsa. I'm like
I think I prefer
Christy
cold
with,
salsa,
like,
but I would
cold
eat.
salsa.
I would eat either.
I'm a warm salsa person.
I would do either.
I mean, I can eat both. I grew up just thinking it was only cold, but then I went to some place and they actually had warm. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a game changer. And so,
For those of you that didn't hear Chad's poll question on Sunday, this was his question to the congregation, and it was warm salsa won by a long shot. I was kind of surprised.
that's because Carl prefers the cold one. Anyways, that wasn't our question. All right, so let's get to talking about the gala. So this has been our third one. Now, I guess we could say third annual gala. This is the one time, this is the first time it just went by the name The Gala, and it wasn't the Spurs and Sparkles and things like that. But
I wanted to change it up, bring it kind of more of a simplistic style of it, a theme that can go on and on and on. We have Spurs and Sparkles, you have Denim and Diamonds, you have Broadway, you have like all these different themes, but when people can count on the same thing of like, oh, I know how to dress for this, or I know like what to expect, and they can focus less on like what to wear and more on like, how can I help this event? How can I like donate items for silent auction? What sponsorship items am I going to be able to give to? Like that was really more of what I was wanting to go with this year, and the whole committee, they were really great about it. At the beginning I was like, it's just the gala, like just Jack. They been great.
See, that's why I'm not on that, because I would have been like, well, we're having it on a Friday this year. What about casual Friday? And
Oh
everyone would be
my
like,
gosh,
boo.
no.
Oh.
It's fun to get fancy.
Yeah, if we ever moved into like
Yeah.
Halloween time, I would definitely be like Halloween party. Everybody has to dress in
Ooh.
Oh,
costume. That'd be fun.
that would be
But it
fun.
gets so hard in the fall and in the spring to figure
Yeah.
out when to do this event. And so it's kind of just happened to be this first or second week of September. We've had it at Palacio Maria 3 times, and that venue, like, shout out to them. They do a phenomenal job.
Mm-hmm.
They take care of all the food, they take care of the bar, they take care of the linens and the setup. And it makes it so much easier for us just to walk in, put our auction items down, like put the programs and the cookies. And I don't know if y'all tried your cookies yet. Those were done by Tiffany Lovell. She has a little
Oh.
business called Bubba Grace, and she's been one of our longtime members. They were so good. I somehow like found them in like my purse and the Consuela bag that I got as an auction item. So we just been kind of eating on these cookies for a while.
But they're
They're
those things
still
where the cookies look so good that you don't want to eat it because they
I
look like a
know.
very nice decorative piece, and so
My
so you're just
kids,
kind of feel bad
my
eating
kids
it.
were very pumped. They were like a St. Peter's cookie. They
Yeah.
were very excited to eat it.
Yeah, so she did a great job with that. We had a really good turnout. So we had ticket wise about 220 tickets sold, which is more than we did our second year.
All right.
And we raised over 50,000. I think that's kind of in our ballpark range of what we've raised between ticket sales, silent auction, and our sponsorship items. And sponsorship items are still available. I think we're keeping those open till the end of September because we still have a lot of great items on there.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, we sold about $30,000 of items that could be sponsored. But big ticket items have been hit, like the lot kitchen remodel. That
Ooh.
was first day. Like the
Wow.
first day the sponsorship items went live, that was taken care of. And like that's
That's
five thousand
huge.
Yeah.
dollars.
Yeah,
That's
that's
amazing. And
huge.
just the turnout of St. Peter's and the community itself is fantastic. I love it.
And you saying that, like, so what the gala is like, I mean, this is just an added event because people are still going to do their regular giving, and they're still going to do their tithes and offerings and things like that. But like, this is just something, just a little extra that just helps with we're able, as Preston likes to say, like, it helps us dream big,
Yes.
where it's like,
Yes.
okay, what is there that you already have? Like, we already have our budgets for stuff. And what if you could dream big, and like, what would be something else you would want, but you're scared of, you can't do it because you still got to maintain your budget. And it's like, oh, well, like a couple of years ago, for the first one we did, I was like, well, we need some new couches for our Wesley area for our students when we're sitting around and
And
we
they're
do Bible
awesome.
studies and
We
we do,
love 'em.
yeah. And so I was just like, well, I mean, I don't have the budget for that, but I would dream big for that. And someone bought that, like they bought the sponsorship of it. We went out and bought it. And now we have these couches that have lasted. And the same thing with, I mean, there's lots of other things for student ministry and other things in children's ministry and all these
All
other.
over the place. Every ministry, really gets to be beneficiaries of the gala. And it's those things that like we put off, we're like, we can do without it. Right.
And that's me. That is 100% my
Yeah.
thinking, because I can be I can go at things very simply. Like, I am not fancy. I can get by on not much. And
Chad, that's so shocking.
I know. I really can. So like, but I was starting to get to the point with those couches we did have going, oh, these have got to go. Like, these
Yeah.
are hard to move. They're falling apart and all
We
this.
take
And
hand-me-down couches.
I know. That's like student ministry 101.
yeah, just give us the rundown, nasty couch. And that's pretty much what some of these were.
Multiple beneficiaries. So last year, one of the big items that was funded was the website revamp.
Mhm. Right.
yeah.
And how that's been so beneficial for everybody coming in and seeing the changes to that. I think it's great that people can walk in and be like, I helped fund that.
Yes.
I
It's
helped
huge.
these third graders get their Bible. I helped get these new banners at West. I helped get these new informational signs for children's ministry, or kind of see the need of, wait, I didn't realize our church needed this. I didn't realize the information desk at Kingsland needed to be updated, or like the garden space outside in the courtyard. It's so sweet to see people sitting out there and talking and chatting. It's like, well, what if we got more benches? What if we had little bistro
Yeah.
tables? There's something I was thinking of. It just like blooped out of my brain. One item, I can't remember what it is, but it's just like when you see the need
Mm-hmm.
that kind of goes unspoken for a while, like couches, like signage, these things that maybe an update brings more people in, maybe having a little bit more of a, some more Bibles. Ethan, the first time I talked at West Campus about the sponsorship items in the gala, I was like, oh, and Ethan needs Bibles for youth. And somebody, we hadn't even put the sponsorship out list out yet. And she's like, I got it.
Yeah.
Whatever, you taking care of it. We don't even have to put it on the list, fully funded. So it's great how people do go above and beyond, because I feel they get more of a tangible
Right.
response
I
to
mean,
the
they
item.
don't, you see like ministry in this broader picture, right? Like you see it in the like, oh, we need Bibles for students, like whereas you just think, okay, we're going to have like this time carved out in our schedule. It's like, okay, well, there's so much that goes into that time. And I think, I just think the putting the words to the gala about how this allows us to dream bigger
Yes.
is just, it really, that describes what the gala does. I feel like so much, because even us on staff, some of the behind the scenes, right, is that we are told, hey, we need you to give us your sponsorship items that you need to help empower you in your ministry, right? And then those, we have to list them all out, but we have to dream. We have to start dreaming and being like, what could we want? What could we have? Hi, Beau. We get Katie's little boy. Hi.
Oh,
Special guest appearance.
Special guest.
yeah, got our guest appearance. Oh, I thought having the communications on there of how much it costs to print everything for
Mm-hmm.
Christmas and Easter, and just
Oh, yeah.
the print cost that goes.
Right, and those are for those big,
I want you Buzz Lightyear.
Hi.
He's
Hi.
watching Buzz Lightyear.
You're watching
Oh.
Buzz Lightyear. Oh, how
Ooh, go
exciting.
infinity and beyond, my friend.
Yeah.
It's like we're speaking of.
Yeah, I have to say, with Preston coming in the middle of this planning,
And we
and
have a glow. We have a blue witch.
we have we've already set up for Halloween, and he wants you to know we have a Bluey Witch inflatable.
Oh, how exciting.
Ooh, nice.
Preston coming in and coining like "Let's Dream." I
Yeah.
think that really helped members.
Also.
Okay, go get a straw. Members like, oh, what are we going to dream about? And doing
Uh-huh.
the minty mind thing where
Yes, that was fun.
let's have a coffee house at St. Peter's. I think
Yeah.
that was one of my favorite, or copious amounts of snacks for students.
Yeah, let's forget about that one.
That one, oh my gosh.
We don't need to go into that rant again.
So great. It's one of my favorite
I
things.
just love how apparently that was Zach Walters, and there's no way he knows how to spell the word copious. I don't know.
Stop it.
Like, there-
Hey, he's a trivia master. He knows how to spell.
Yeah, he has the answers. He's not doing the trick.
I
Yeah.
said that my biggest win of the night was writing coffee shop, because I've been like joking. I'm not joking, but I've been like, just like elbowing Preston, like I want us to have a coffee shop. So I put coffee shop up there, and then like it was repeated. Other people were like, yeah. And I was like, I've started a revolution.
No, Christy was going up and saying, "Can I see your phone real quick?" And she was just. But the gala, it was a lot of, because not only is it this fundraiser and this, it's like a way, it's a whole mix of things. It is this way to showcase all the different ministries. There is that. It is a fundraiser because it's helping us raise money for things to do ministry. It is a big fellowship event.
Yes.
And it's like a way for our church members to show off their gifts and talents, because so many of them, whether it's their work or they want to put stuff in the auction item. So like Nippy Blair, right? Like in his artwork, like
In the cornhole set that he did,
Yeah.
he hand painted. It was
Oh my
so
gosh, the
pretty.
cornhole set.
and so you just see this, like, you see people who are proud of what they do, and it's a way for them to kind of show it off. So in a way, it's like a show and tell,
Yeah.
but it's an auction item, so it's helping us raise money. So it really is this big mix of an event, and it's so
Yeah.
great.
No, and Paige did a really
it's also
good
really
job.
great to see people who are willing to go out into the community and request auction items, to go out and be fearless and be like, hey, we're having this event. Would you mind donating?
Mhm.
And like, I benefited from that. I got the Consuela bag. I'm so happy about that one.
I know. The Paige did a really good job putting all of that online this year. So it was like, you didn't have to be at the event even. Like there were people that were, doing like the auction from away, but they had, they weren't able to go to the gala for whatever reason. And so they still want to participate.
Which the big winner this year was Randy Baker for, one of our voices on the This Day podcast as he reads scripture for us. But he not only got the thing I was putting in the silent auction for going to a Sugarland Space Cowboys game, but he also won being a special guest on this podcast on the Next Day
I think Randy
podcast.
It wants to be besties with you, Chad.
Maybe.
I think that's the thing.
So y'all will hear Randy Baker soon on this podcast. But the other big thing that went was the package that y'all had, which was the whiskey basket, and
I think that was the biggest ticket item.
I mean,
like one of them anyway.
When I was thinking of, I remember talking with Robin, who's on staff with us, and we were looking, and we talked about, maybe we should bid on this and all this. By the time we saw the final price, we were like, okay, we're out of our league on this one.
So here's the thing: we hosted some staff members, but everyone else at our table was not a member or a congregant of St. Peter's. Mm-hmm. Our friends and family that we want to have involved in the church. And that's how you get money to be raised.
Yeah.
Ticket items sold. So there is a few of even my dad, I'm like, Dad, you don't even drink. He's like, I'm here to have fun. Oh, that's his thing. If you want to have a fun, lively auction, get Mike Jacob to come. He will bid on things he doesn't even.
My dad was there and he bid on a few things that he didn't win, but he was trying to get the World War II flight. Historical flight, because he is a not hobby airport, a pilot by hobby.
Yeah.
And he just hasn't been able to fly anymore because he can't pass the vision test anymore. But so I was like, Dad, you've got to do this. And he was bidding on it until it got to a point and he was like, I can't keep going. But it's just such cool stuff that we, got to offer to people, and it's some friendly competition with the silent auctions. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So
it was really good just seeing both campuses come together and enjoy an event, and just like the fellowship of it all. Like, oh, I haven't seen you in so long. And just everyone, I think everyone just had a really great time.
This was, of the 3 galas that we've had, this one was my favorite. I thought it was so well done. It was so good to see everybody there. It honestly, I wasn't even able to make it around the room entirely to say hi to everyone.
I really don't. Yeah, I did not. Everyone was, because the space is pretty big, and so it's hard to get by to everybody.
But we had such a good time.
Hard to go to 22 tables and say hi to everybody. But I thought it went really well. Going back to Zach Walters, he was a great MC. I approached him at church one day. I was like, hey, do you want to be our master of ceremony? He's like, he did great.
He'll jump at that. Yeah.
He did. He was so great. He was like, I don't think I've pronounced some of these people's names before. Can you speak and spell style? So I was sending him a voice note, this is how you say these people's names. And he was fantastic. Told Preston he had to keep it under 30 minutes of his speech. So he did really good too.
Yeah. Well, it was a great event, so thank you, Katie, and all those other people who just helped out behind the scenes. There's a lot that went into it, and it started as early, back in the spring, right? When y'all started.
It did. I think Holly and I signed the contract for Palacio in the winter, and then we started meeting in the spring and just getting staff members involved, getting people of the community involved, and it all came together. There were some nights, my background with event planning, I'm like, I'm not going to sleep until I get these 3 things taken off my list. So there was definitely sometimes Luke, he's looking at me, he's like, for someone who doesn't have a job, you are on your phone and on your computer a lot. I'll work.
You're like, this is a full-time job.
It is a full-time job planning this.
No, but thank you. No, and thank you. And it was a lot of fun. And so we're looking forward, like we said, people could still contribute to it. And now comes a time where we all get to go out and to buy these things. I know I'm looking forward to a new ping pong table and all that. Ooh. Because ours right now is just falling apart. Luckily someone funded it. Someone bought it for us. And so we just need to go get it. So Well, now let's get to talking about our sermon. If you were in the element, you got to hear Christy. If you were now, then the other two venues switched it up a bit. If you were in traditional, you got to hear Carl, and if you were at the West Campus, you got to hear Pastor Preston. And we are in this series called Last Round Draft Picks, and we're looking at all these people that other people, like if you just look at them on paper and look at their origin story kind of thing, like you would just think, okay, this isn't the person. We would pass on this person. But God saw something in them, and then they ended up going on to do great and wonderful things. So our first week we talked about King David, or pre-King David.
Yeah.
Shepherd
boy David.
And then last week we talked about Matthew/Levi and how he was a tax collector and just this kind of enemy to the Jewish people. And yet Jesus called him to be one of his disciples. And this week we were talking about someone who was just more kind of internally beating himself up, was Moses. Mm-hmm. And because that's always a really well-known scripture whenever Moses is confronting the burning bush, and then God's telling him, oh, go and do this. And then Moses is just constantly, but who am I? Like, who do you, like, why me? Like, send someone else. And he was just trying to get out of this. Mm-hmm. And yet God was like, no, you're doing it. So Christy, what can you tell us a bit about your sermon and kind of what just tell us a little bit about Moses with this being a last round draft pick.
Yeah, I think this is one of my favorite call stories in Scripture. I think, like, as I was reading this again, because we talked about this, it always feels like it's been, yesterday that we just talked to, I'm like, oh, we just preached about this. And then I look back in the archives and I'm like, oh, this was 4 years ago or whatever. So I do remember us talking about this. I think it was the felt board Bible series. Remember where we had the felt board? Yeah,
because we're just doing kind of like familiar stories that children probably would have known. So the felt board was just this visual for that.
It was the burning bush, right? And so we talked about that. And I remember when I was preaching that sermon, how much I was just like, gosh, I could write 15 sermons on this passage alone. And then looking at it again in the context of this sermon series, I was thinking the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. I could turn this in so many different ways and look at it from so many different angles and see it so, differently and uniquely, and just it's such a multifaceted passage, but just one of my favorites. So, but as I was reading it for this sermon series, one thing that just really struck me was, sort of I just saw an outline for okay, I always joke that I'm like, okay, I don't have 1 point. Carl always says, I always have 1 point. And then I just repeat that point in saying it in a million different ways. I'm like, I have too many points. I usually have at least 3.
Lots of points. Alliteration.
I'm like, here's the slide. Here's where we're going. Let's map it out. So I really couldn't help myself because I was just so excited about this, this passage. But when you look at that passage, you see 3 I am kind of statements. So, right in the beginning, it's like Moses goes and approaches this burning bush and God calls out to him and he says, here I am. So that's the first thing. And Here I am. And then then God tells Moses his plan. This is what you're going to go do. This is what I'm calling you to. And then, so the next thing you see is, who am I? Right?
Who am I?
Who am I to do this, right? Mm-hmm. And then in response, basically, to his, who am I to do this? And what am I going to say when I go? Who sent me? God's response is, I am that I am. Tell them I am has sent you, So it's this 3 points right here. I just saw that and I was like, okay, I can't divert from this. I am
who you say I am. I'm not forsaken. You know that song?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, we sing in worship, I think.
Yeah, we do sometimes.
I am who you say
who sings that?
I don't know.
You should let them sing.
I always say I am.
I am.
Yeah. I think about sweet potatoes and all that.
I did preach about sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
No, so anyway, that was just sort of provided the outline for me. But I think one of my favorite things, I didn't fixate on this during the sermon because I did fixate on this a lot. last time I preached on this, but it's one of my favorite things in this passage is that before God actually calls to Moses and like speaks his name and officially like calls him, right? There's just this like obscure burning bush, you know, and like Moses, it literally says that like Moses, you know, sees it and says to himself, I must turn aside from, you know, what I'm doing right now to go and see what's going on with this bush. And then it says again that Moses turned aside. So it's like he said to himself, I must turn aside. And then he does turn aside. And that like Hebrew phrasing, turn aside, is so, I think, relatable to us as a culture because it means to be left undone. You know, that like you have to, in order for Moses to have received this calling, he first had to leave his own work and his own plans undone and just be accepting and willing to do that, right? Accepting of the fact that like his work and his life and his normal rhythms and all of that were going to be interrupted and perhaps left undone in order for, you know, for him to have space in his life to receive this calling from God. And I just love that. Like I said, I didn't fixate hard on that, but like initially, you know, that's the first step that had to be taken in order for him to approach this burning bush and to hear from God and to be able to respond with, here I am. Right. So I think that was the first, you know, kind of the first step there.
Which I'm just trying to imagine, like, you know, you always see that in like, was it like horror movies or whatever? There's always that one person who hears the noise down in the basement and they go, I'm going to go see what that is. Where I would just run away, but Moses here is like singing this thing on fire.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm going to go investigate.
Well, it's like, it's
Anyone else would have been
interesting.
like run away or something.
It's interesting because it's like, you know, it's a very like supernatural, very mystical kind of thing that occurs. And, you know, you wonder about our own life and, you know, when God is calling us like every single day, like God has a call on our life for something. And I was thinking about this in terms of parenting. Katie, you'll like this because I'm watching you parent your son right now on the screen. But you know, like I think about this a lot where, you know, this thing pops up for Moses and he has to say like, okay, I'm going to put my work and my plans aside, turn aside and leave it undone and go respond to this call. And I was thinking about that in terms of how many times I hear mom a day, you know, and I'm like in the middle
like
of something.
6 times?
Oh, I wish.
I think people have done the little clicker counter, and one woman with her 3 kids, it was over 300 times in one day.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Mom.
I mean, sometimes Justin will be like, in the last 5 minutes, I have heard the kids say mom like at least 50 times.
How many times do they say dad? Like,
I mean,
10?
it happens. It happens to both of us. And for Justin, it's different because for us, it's different because he works from home. So like he's remote. So he's home with the kids. Like he's the one who takes the kids to school in the morning and picks them up from school. So he has a lot of interface time with them too. That's not, you know, like a traditional household, doesn't necessarily work that way. But we both receive this. But I'm like thinking of all the times that, you know, I come home with like work on the brain or these other things that I feel like I need to be doing. And it's always the thing that I think I need to be attending to. Like I have this plan, I have this work. It's all on, you know, like it's all on me. I've got to do this. And then, you know, my kids are like, you know, quote unquote, interrupting me, you know, and they're like, mom. But then to me, I'm thinking about this in the terms of like Moses calling, like God calling to Moses was the calling. Like that was the real calling, not his exile, not him running away from his life in Egypt, right? This was the calling. And so it's like all these times that my kids will be like, mom, you know, I'm like, if I can recognize their voice as my calling, like how different that makes it, you know, rather than me being like, gosh, I'm being interrupted again. And so like that's sort of in that like initial part of Moses responding to this call from God is first he had to put aside, you know, he had to turn aside to leave undone his own work and his own plans in order to even be open to receiving that call, which I just think is so like in a culture that is, like ours, that is distracted and, has so much going on, or in like the life of parenting, right? Like that, that we would put ourselves in a place where we can like hear the calling of God and receive it.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. So this last, over the weekend, Sable and I went up to Lufkin and to Hemphill for one of her aunts for her funeral. And so while we're up there and is on Saturday, we're in Hemphill and we're in the funeral service, and the pastor just goes off talking about Moses. And I'm just like, what the heck? And it was kind of...
Isn't this like the second time this has happened recently? Because you were at another church and they sang Because He Lives.
Yes, there's everything. It's like everyone's like hearing what we're doing. And they were, oh, we better touch on this.
Yeah.
But it was interesting hearing... I've never heard this before. I don't know. I've never thought about it like this, about these different sections in Moses' life. Where that first section, he was, his first part of his life, he grew up probably like a spoiled kid in the kingdom and didn't have really any responsibilities, and he was just in the royal, like he was there in the kingdom, and then he goes off, and now he's kind of in the middle of nowhere and becomes like shepherd and all of this, and so he takes on a whole different thing,
right?
And then now this calling kicks him off to where he is like doing something even newer, like going on
a leader.
A leader. Yeah. And so it was just kind of the way he broke it down. Somehow it fit into the whole funeral and all that. Like it was, and I was just kind of listening to him go, oh wow, like, yeah, that's really interesting. Because I've told you this, Christy, because to me, I've never understood this whole idea of like Moses not being the likely person. My argument for that, I think he's the most obvious choice because he already has connections in the kingdom, and like any other rando going in there saying, "Hey, let my people go," they would have been like, "We don't know who you are. Get out of here."
But like that Pharaoh died,
You're
and
right.
it does specifically say that.
Yeah, and so, but I still think there's somehow a connection there, right?
Maybe.
I don't know, but it still is. He made this mistake. He had to leave. He's kind of fleeing for his life as he's now in Midian, right? And now he's just kind of there hiding out. And so, yeah, maybe he is like, who am I? I screwed up back there. I was just this spoiled kid there in the kingdom, and I messed up. Like, who am I to go and try to be this leader for this whole nation of people? Like, so now I do understand, like, okay, it is more internal for him of just how much he was just like, well, I can't do this. I can't speak. Well, who am I and all this? And it's just excuse after excuse. But the guy's like, no, you're going to do it. And he did it. And he found ways because he partnered with Aaron to speak for him and all these other
And he argues
things
with God over and over again about, his qualifications to do this.
Yeah.
Like over and over, he's just like, no, but God, what about this? But God. You see that like throughout the passage so many times.
Yeah.
Hi, Katie.
She's been running around chasing him down and
potty training. But mommy.
Oh, yep. See, look, there's your calling right there. Just calling to you.
Well, Katie, did you happen to hear any of the sermons? Was there any takeaways for you or anything?
Yeah, I was at West and we had... Okay, buddy, hold on. Preston.
Maybe he has some good points there.
Yeah.
Well, Preston was talking about a great light that he saw when he was a kid and ended up being from a Mexican restaurant that just opened. So we had to go Mexican food yesterday. But you hear the story of Moses growing up from a child perspective, burning bush and going and getting them from the slavery in Egypt and going and like all the trials and tribulations that happened to him. And you think, wow, he's like this great person. And then you hear it from a new perspective of like the last pick. And maybe he wasn't like the brightest burning bush in the group, but God chose him anyways. And just putting a different perspective on it really obviously like changes how you read scripture, or even just the version of the scripture that's being read, NIV versus King James versus whatever. Like it
Mm-hmm.
changes your perspective on a story that you've heard so many times.
Yeah.
And I liked hearing a different perspective of, a childhood favorite. Who
Yeah.
hasn't watched
Yeah.
Prince of Egypt?
Yeah, and I think I talked
Prince of
about
Egypt. There you go.
I talked about Prince of Egypt
No
a
one
little
once
bit.
mentioned the Ten Commandments. Like
I was shocked how many people have not seen Prince of Egypt. Like only a few hands went up, and I was like, "Okay, you all have homework.
I'm
Go
trying to
find
think if
this."
I've actually watched it from beginning to end.
Oh my
I know I've
gosh.
seen, and I love like animation, and especially
was-
the animation like that. Like,
Did you know that Spielberg had like a part in creating this movie? I had no idea. Like it's just crazy. But no, it was good. It's not like completely accurate, probably there's some creative license there, but
singing and music?
but it's a good, I think like when we, Katie, to your point, when we understand stories like this in scripture, like about Moses, like a figure like Moses, right? When we hear that story and see that story with the reality that Moses didn't think he was qualified and probably was, I wouldn't say like a last round draft pick, but just it felt random probably to him. Like, why me? Of anybody else. And I think that's like, something we talked about on Sunday. I'm sure we all touched on that. And, Carl and Preston and I all talked about this on Sunday. His statement, I know I talked about the Hebrew word, when he says, "Who am I has like two different Hebrew words that are used primarily throughout scripture, throughout the Old Testament. And it's ani, and they're both like first person singular I, ani and anochi. And this was the second, this was the anochi, which means, yeah, you got to use your possum voice. Your possum hiss kind of voice. That got her. So the second is used, like I said in the sermon, it's used over 100 times in the Old Testament by God to say, like, I and no one else have done this thing. Like, I and no one else am God, right? But Moses uses that word to say, like, who am I? Like, I and not someone else to go and do this, right? And I think that this is why this is such a relatable story when we look at it with those fresh eyes and we understand kind of where Moses, background is and where he came from and what he's doing in Midian, like in this personal exile that he's put himself in. He's thinking, why me? Like, isn't there someone else that's more suited, to do this?
And I'm thinking about like just how huge of a task he's being asked to do is to completely disrupt their economy.
Well, yes.
like I mean, how much do they rely on slaves and all that? And yet he knows that because he's experienced it, and so he knows how important it is. And yet now he's being asked, "Hey, go disrupt all that. Go change all that."
But also, go up, go to Pharaoh and say, "Let my people go." Like that in and of itself, you don't just walk up to the throne room of a king and just threaten them. Like you die when that happens, So like he's putting himself in a really like precarious spot to do this. And yeah, like disrupt a whole like system of government and economy. Like it's one of the biggest stories in Jewish literature. Like, I mean, it's the Passover,
Passover,
like
and
they go through the whole story, I mean, this is like one of the biggest stories in both Jewish and Christian literature altogether, is the exodus of the Hebrews the Israel from Egypt, right? And the way, obviously, like we didn't get into all that part of the story, but this is
a lot to cover.
This is like Moses probably has no idea, like what's about to happen. But that's what makes, I think, this part of the story so exciting, because ultimately, like after arguing with God over and over, he's ultimately just like, here I am, right? Like that's the end response is here I am. And he is the leader of the Israelite people for a long, long time.
What if he's like, okay, God, I'll only do this if you promise me all the Hebrew slaves would just always be on my side and just always love me, and once I let them go. Yeah, sure, Moses, sure.
Yeah.
Day 10 of freedom.
Why are
Moses,
we here?
you stink. Why'd you?
We hate you.
Dang it.
Where's the meat?
Yeah, so very good. Again, great series, and it's just these great reminders of this. And I love how you kind of look at each person. They're all conflicted with these different things. And so I love how we've been kind of diversified, because there's plenty of just, the Bible's full of examples of this. And it's not just because they're just young. It's not just because they're this. Like, they all have these kind of different conflicting reasons on why they are seen or why they themselves feel they are the last pick. So next week we're going to be finishing with the draft. And this one just kind of involves everybody. We look at the parable of the workers in the vineyard. It's a very, of all the parables, this is the one I love talking with students for, because it is so conflicting. Like, it just doesn't seem fair, but then you do see how it's fair, but then you do. So be looking forward to that. It's a very challenging parable, and but it deals really well with this last round draft pick. All right, so let's get to our ministry shout out. And so we did ask Katie to share about a ministry that she cares a lot about, as she has been this dedicated member here at St. Peter's. So Katie, what ministry would you want to give a shout out to here at St. Peter's?
Okay. Well, I'm going to take a little time and say two, because I am also one of the leader moms for Moms Mission of Motherhood at West Campus. We just started it this semester. Membership is still open, and we look forward to having moms of different stages and ages be with us, fellowship. We meet on Mondays at West Campus from 10 to 11:30, and it's what are we saying? No homework involved. We're just kind of coming as we are in the space with whatever is going on that week, and just doing a little Bible study, getting together, and just fellowshipping and learning how to mom in this day and age. It's it's different.
You're coming in with y'all's counters of how many times mom was said.
That's right.
And then my other ministry that I love is care ministry. And they have reached out to multiple members of my family. I have a great aunt who has been receiving cards and quilts and just love and prayer from this ministry for over 5 years at this point. Last year, both my parents got to benefit when they decided to break bones within months of each other, and beautiful cards, or the quilt that was sent to my mom when she was going through radiation for her breast cancer, and just the dedication that these men and women put towards praying over and loving people that they may never meet, but as you say, I have a need, they are all in, and just doing whatever they can to make somebody feel loved it's just so special to me. So I love that they're some of the beneficiaries of the gala. Toast. This is my cat Toast.
Hi, Toast.
Toast. He's
so
joining
cute.
us today. Yeah. Everybody's joining us.
Everyone
today.
is. I know. It's such like a populated podcast.
Waiting for Luke to come on there. Hey, what's going on? Whoa, hey, I'm on TV. Hey.
Yeah. I got one other cat, but she's mad at us right now.
Oh.
She wants to be appearance.
Well,
those are my ministries, and I'm just thankful that y'all got to. Y'all got to have me today.
We are thankful.
Yeah, our other shout out is just to the gala committee, to the planning team, and all that with the gala. But I'm glad that you mentioned all those with moms and even care ministry. We just recently did our shout out to the prayer ministry and all that. So really, care ministry, there's so much at our church that this whole care, and it really is just showing people in their hardest times, we're here for them. And I'm glad that you got to experience that with your parents. And then, but everyone here, we really do take the time on these prayer lists and sending cards, sending quilts, sending all this. So, yeah. So, and there's lots of ways, if you want to get involved here at the church, there's lots of ways for you to get involved with care ministry like that. And so you can go out and share God's love in that way. All right. Well, Katie, it's been so great to have you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. And we're looking forward to the gala next year. And
She's
Send out
like,
save the dates.
Yeah.
she's like, I'm in a rest for 1 month.
Yes.
And ask me after Christmas.
Yeah, we'll talk later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we will end it there, and we will be sure you are listening for next week as we round out the last round draft picks as we talk about the parable of the workers in the vineyard. But we will see you all next week on the Next Day podcast.
See you next time.
Bye.